In today's video, I'm sharing with you my review of the OURA Ring. Let's get right into it. Okay friends, it is finally time for me to review the OURA Ring. You all know that whenever I do a tech review, I like to spend a good amount of time with the device before I share a review so that I can have the most experience, the most robust amount of details that I can share with you based off of my experience. So it is finally time. I got the OURA Ring in August, so enough time has been spent with this thing, and I'm excited to share my pros and cons. So the way that this video is structured is I will share with you the specs of my device in particular, and then I will share pros, I will share cons, and I do have some cons, and then I will end things off by sharing whether or not I think the device is worth the purchase. So yeah, let's jump right into it. So again, starting with the device that I have, this is the OURA Ring that I have on right here. This is the Gen 3 Horizon model in gold. So the most recent model is not Gen 3, it's Gen 4. I purchased this right before the Gen 4 was released, and spoiler alert, I do not regret that, but it is not the newest model. Just a heads up on that. And the Horizon is the design essentially. So the Horizon just is smooth across the entire ring, whereas there was another design that was a little bit older that had ridges on it. I didn't really like that design, so I went with the Horizon one. And then of course you can clearly see that I like gold, so I went with gold as the metal. But just a heads up that gold is the most expensive option when you're purchasing any OURA ring, so just a heads up on that. And the size that I got is a size 8. My ring size is actually size 6, but they suggest that you size up 1 or 2 sizes because your finger does swell during different parts of the day, like when you're sleeping. And I have to say that even though I did get a ring that's 2 sizes larger than the actual size of my finger, it fits really well. It's super comfy, and my finger does swell up, and I've noticed that, so it is the perfect size to go 2 up for me. But I will just say at the top, like, that's not going to be the case for everyone, so I definitely recommend you go to like a Best Buy or something and size yourself and give yourself enough wiggle room, but not too much of a wiggle room when you're picking your size. Okay, so those are the details of my ring in particular. Let's start with the pros. I have a lot of pros for this video, so let's just jump right into it. And while I'm talking, I will try to put up some screen recordings of examples of the things that I'm talking about so you can actually see what's going on, and hopefully that will be helpful. Okay, so the first pro is that it looks good and that it's comfy. I already mentioned that it's comfy. I got the right size for me. It's really comfortable. I really don't notice that it's on me. So I love that. I love that it's not really a nuisance on my finger. It fits just like any other ring would fit me, even though it is on the bulkier side, clearly in comparison to my other rings, but it doesn't bother me at all. And personally, I think it looks good. Some people don't like the fact that it's really big and bulky and clunky. I personally think it looks really cool. I think it looks really stylish. I think that really is subjective. It depends, but I personally think that it looks good. And again, I went with the gold because I like gold and I think it looks super cool. Although I have been liking the silver as well, with like the mixed metal vibe. Like some people wear a mixture of silver and gold, and I think that I would have been cool with that too. It would have saved me some money as well. But still, I really love how it looks. I love the design overall. I have no issues with that. Another hardware thing that is a pro is that the battery is perfection. From the moment that I pulled this ring out of the box, I have never had to experience a dead device. It has never died out on me. It has never even gotten low for me since getting it back in August, and that's because I charge it when it's most convenient. And so again, the battery, the charging experience, there is really no issue for me there. I charge it when I go to shower, and it is fully charged by the time I come back and put it back on. I also charge it when I'm brushing my teeth. So the only time I take this ring off is to shower and to brush my teeth, and everything else, like throughout the entirety of my day, I'm wearing it and there are no issues with the battery. So I think that's A plus 10 out of 10 for the battery. The next pro is that this syncs really well with my Google Pixel Watch 2. Although I have a caveat there, it did take a minute for me to set things up between the two devices. So if you're wondering if this is compatible with the Google Pixel watches, they are. But you do have to do a little workaround to get your fitness stats to sync up with the Oura Ring and the Oura Ring app and stuff like that. What I personally did, and I don't know if this is the case anymore because I did this several months ago, maybe there's been an update and things are easier now, but I had to download the Google Fit app. I already had the Fitbit app because I used to have a Fitbit, and then I had to sync those two together and then also sync Google Fit to my Oura Ring. So it was my Fitbit feeding information to Google Fit, and Google Fit was feeding information to my Oura Ring app. I'm saying was like it's past tense, but that's the current setup. It is syncing from one app to the next. And I know that sounds pretty annoying, but once I set it up and I just have the apps on my phone, the work is being done and I don't have to worry about it at all afterwards. So once I set that up, and it did take a minute for it to set up, things have been seamlessly syncing in terms of my steps. I want to ensure that I'm tracking my steps, and sometimes I'm on my walking pad and sometimes I don't think it's tracking properly if it's just in this area. Sometimes I put my Google Pixel Watch 2 on my ankle. So I just want to ensure that I'm getting all of my fitness stats into my Oura Ring because that's really important for the data, and I am able to do that, although it does take a little bit of setup, so just be mindful of that. Okay, the next pro is that there is a lot of data. I mentioned this before, but I used to have a Fitbit and I used to use a Fitbit app. I used to use Fitbit Premium. That whole system is nothing in comparison to the amount of data I am getting from the Oura Ring. It is extremely robust. There is data about so many things in my health, and I absolutely love that. If that's something that freaks you out, if that's something that gives you anxiety, you're definitely not going to be needing the Oura Ring at all. But for me, I personally love more data. More data, the better. And this app is chock full of it thanks to everything that it's capturing from the ring itself. So definitely, in my opinion, I think I get my money's worth because I'm getting so much more data than I've ever gotten before, especially in comparison to the Fitbit, which is kind of hefty in price too, depending on what setup you do with the Fitbit. Okay, and then speaking of data and the huge amount of it, another pro is that the data is summarized really well for you. Again, I will try to put some things on the screen so you can see examples of how great the Oura experience is for summarizing data. But it's not just data. It's not just charts. It's not just numbers. It's not just graphs. They actually explain to you what these things mean, what these numbers and data mean. And that's extremely helpful because I think in the past when I had my Fitbit, I would get charts, I would get data, I would get numbers, but they wouldn't fully explain what these things mean and how that can be applied to health conditions or, just your health in general, your wellness in general. And so the Oura Ring knows that that's something that's really important for people to actually go into the app, read and understand and feel like they're being helped by this device. And they do it so well. They have so many different sections that analyze the data based off of whatever it is they're capturing from the Oura Ring. And it's so incredibly helpful. We'll get into some specifics in a second, but just know that you are getting robust data that is actually summarized and approachable, accessible, digestible. Okay, moving on to another pro. Another example of robust summarized data, the timeline. So this is something that's relatively new, I've noticed in the app. You can see a timeline of all of the activity that you're doing in a day, which I think is really cool because it starts with when you wake up and it has a summary of your sleep data in there, and then it moves on to say something that you eat, say you exercise, say you did something in particular. It jots it down into this timeline so you can see a full timeline of your day, which I think is really cool and again, very digestible. You can also click into those things in the timeline and see particular data for that. So it's just another way for you to access the data that is kind of just all in this gigantic app. Another pro and example of robust summarized data is the weekly and monthly reports. So you can access weekly reports and see how the data is being interpreted on a weekly basis, but you can also see it on a monthly basis because some of the data tracking is really applicable on a weekly basis and can be helpful on a weekly basis, but other things need more time. And so there are monthly reports that show you the trends of your data and analyzes it so that on a monthly basis it can give you some accurate health advice, information, stuff like that. So I love that it's nuanced. I love that it doesn't show you things on a weekly basis, and it doesn't tell you like, by the way, some things may change up on a monthly basis. So the fact that they're showing you two options there is really cool. And I love to see a summarized report. So the fact that I can go through all of these different reports depending on what I'm interested in at the time of me checking it is really cool. Okay, another really cool thing that is pretty recent to the app, it is the smart tools. So I just noticed that for certain data reports, I can chat with an advisor, which is essentially like AI. It's just like a chat bot. It's not an actual person, but essentially it's another way for you to access the data and have the data summarized to you in a way that is actually helpful. And it's a little bit more human-like. I know people aren't really huge fans of AI, but when you chat with the advisor, they are able to answer your questions. You can chat with them, like actively ask them questions. I'm saying them, but like actively act it questions, and it can summarize your data, take your data, summarize that, and find an answer to your question, or try to find an answer to your question. So if you have something specific that you're interested in or concerned about when it comes to your data, and you're not necessarily seeing it flat out in one of the reports that's in the app, you can truly ask it and it will try and provide an answer for you, if it's possible to provide an answer for you, which is another gap that it fills in comparison to the Fitbit. I've always had tons and tons of questions about the data that was in my Fitbit app, and this truly allows you to ask specific questions, which is really cool. Another smart tool is analyzing your meals. I didn't think that I was going to be interested in this at all because I use a separate app to track my meals, and some people don't track their meals at all. But there's this new experimental thing that's in the app where you can take a picture of what you're eating throughout the day, and it will analyze, it will use smart features to know exactly what is in your bowl, what's in your plate, and then it will tell you the health benefits of it, like a general sense of the health benefits of your meal, or maybe it's not healthy at all. I don't know. I haven't actually tried it with an unhealthy meal, but I have tried it with my breakfast, and I usually go with an oatmeal with berries and pumpkin seeds and stuff like that. And so I've taken a picture, and it has analyzed correctly that it's oatmeal with strawberries, let's say. And if it's missing some ingredients that you want it to know that's in the bowl, you can add it afterwards. So sometimes it doesn't know that there's pumpkin seeds in there because I mix up the pumpkin seeds with the oatmeal. So I can manually add in the pumpkin seeds and reanalyze the entire meal, and it will give me a summary of the health benefits of the meal that I'm having, which is so cool. Another thing that kind of summarizes and helps you digest what it is that you're looking at in terms of data. It's almost like a little mini nutritionist, and although it definitely doesn't replace a nutritionist or a dietitian, it does give you general overall guidance. And if you are kind of well versed in that space, like I've had a nutritionist for a while and spoke with a dietitian for a while, so I know the groundwork of the things that me and that person, that professional goes through. So when I go into the app and I look at this on a general sense, it just gives me quick reminders of the things that I've learned with my professional. So like I said, it's general, it doesn't replace a professional, but it is extremely helpful on a daily general overall basis, which I think is still incredibly helpful and cool. Okay, another pro. I promise we are more than halfway through the pros, but another pro is stress tracking. I think stress tracking is one of the most used tools that I utilize in the app, and it automatically tracks your stress throughout the day. And you can go into an option, you can go into like a board and see your stress throughout the day. It will show you a line graph of your high stress points, your medium stress points, and your restorative points. So it shows you a really long, robust view of your entire day, and it actually summarizes the data, like I said, about so many other things. So it will tell you, like, yeah, you had a really stressful day. Was there something that can contribute to that? Or say you had a good balance of stressful moments and restorative moments. So let's say that you had an overall good day, or you had an extremely restorative day. Is there something that contributed to that? That's really great. You know, you're doing super awesome. So again, really robust, really digestible, and I personally want to focus on stress because sometimes there will be physical indicators that make me feel like I am stressed. And so looking into the app and reading what it says and taking the advice, it does give advice on the stress as well. It definitely helps. It definitely helps me stop, be present, and take a breath if I am stressed. And if I'm in a restorative place, I will make note of what I'm doing at the time so that I can continue doing more of that to help me restore throughout the day. Again, so helpful. If you see me kind of like moving around like this, I got a new chair and it's a swivel chair. So I'm just like, I don't know. I just tend to do that. Okay, the next pro, and this tool is possibly my favorite tool out of the entire thing. It is the symptom tracker. This is something that I kind of hinted at when I did my first impressions video with the Oura Ring, and they didn't have it at the time. But in that video, I mentioned it would be really cool if the Oura Ring can indicate or know or can predict if something's up with you, if you have a health condition, if you're getting sick, stuff like that. In that video, I particularly mentioned the fact that like I have breathing issues and like I can get into an attack, and I would love if the Oura Ring would be able to kind of send me a notification and be like, hey, heads up, there's something up with your breathing right now. You may get into an attack, almost like a service animal sort of thing. That's not what I'm talking about here with the symptom tracker, although I feel like with this update, we may see that down the line. The symptom tracker essentially takes your temperature, it takes a bunch of different indicators, and lets you know if you have either mild, moderate, or extreme symptoms of something happening to you. It can be an illness, it can be a cold, it can be a flu, it can be something else, but it tracks it. And I have to say, being sick, I think once since getting this Oura Ring, it was extremely accurate with knowing when something was wrong with me. Actually, it was 2 times. The first time was during New Year's when I was the most hungover I think I've ever been in my entire life. The Oura Ring was like, something's up, you are not feeling good right now, and you need to rest. And it was because I was extremely hungover. So that was really cool to see that it wasn't necessarily an illness of like a cold or a common cold or a flu or something like that, but it still knew that I wasn't at my best. And then the second example was that I did get a cold recently, and it knew that I was getting sick before I actually started showing outward symptoms of the cold. I was just feeling a little funky. I was feeling a little tired or lethargic a little bit. And I knew that something was up just because I'm really in tune with my body. But the ring solidified it and said, something is indicating that you may be getting sick here. So just a heads up to, note that. And adjacently to the symptom tracker, like I said, it takes note of your temperature. And when you go into the app, the temperature tracking, like the data and the graphs, are part of the cycle tool, which is like if you have a cycle, like if you have a menstrual cycle, it will show the temperature under that tool. But I was able to look at the symptom tracker and look at that cycle tool and see the similarities there, or the interlock there, because again, the symptom tracker was telling me that I wasn't feeling my best, and then the cycle tool that showed me my temperature showed that my temperature was skyrocketing during the same time that the symptom tracker was telling me that I wasn't feeling well. So again, a bunch of different information. The temperature wasn't necessarily in the symptom tracker app, but it did play a role in the symptom tracker telling me that I wasn't feeling well. And so that is so cool. It's almost like a doctor on your finger. It is letting you know that you are not feeling well before you even show outward symptoms. That is significant, because if you are not feeling good and the Oura Ring has already predicted that, you can take steps to getting better sooner so that you can get better sooner. And in my example, I mentioned the hangover, I mentioned the common cold, but someone else had noticed that the symptom tracker, I saw this on TikTok, someone else saw that their symptom tracker was telling them major signs every single day, and they felt something slightly off in their body, but they didn't feel like super ill. They ended up using that information from the symptom tracker and the information from the cycle/temperature section, and they found out that they had cancer. So I think that this kind of data, this kind of tool that's in the app right now, is powerful. Again, my favorite tool in the app right now, and I can only see it improving and getting better and potentially helping me with my whole breathing situation in the future. So I have a close eye on this one. This is my biggest pro, and I just want to emphasize how cool and important that is if you're someone that's really trying to ensure that you don't get sick, or you like to be well informed on what's going on with your body. Okay, I spent a lot of time talking about that one, but the last things are very quick. 3 more pros. The next one is meditation and breathing practices. Those are provided in the app. Some of them are even provided by Headspace, so it's really cool that you can just go into the OURA Ring app, and if you want to meditate, if you want to do a breathing exercise, if you want to improve your stress, you can go right into the app, and there are tons and tons of practices just available for you to use. You don't have to pay anything additional. Some of them are as short as 3 minutes. Some of them are super long, like super long. So I think that's like an additional premium feature that's in there. And I think that's super cool because they didn't necessarily need to provide that in the app. It's mostly a data app, but they do provide that in the app, which I think is really nice. Okay, the next pro is experiments. So when I talked about the meal analyzer, that's, I think, an experiment. And what I mean by experiment is that the app is constantly updating and offering different demos that you can demo if you choose to demo it, of some cool experimental data tracking kind of features. So like I said, with the example of the meal analyzer, that is a little bit more experimental. They're like now testing it out and now slowly releasing it to everyone. But they do a bunch of other ones, which I think is super cool, because if you want to try and test out something in particular, in this example, the meals, but if you also want to limit your caffeine intake, they have an experiment for that one as well. So I think it's really cool that they're being innovative and they're putting in different tools that apply to specific things, and it's not just here's the data and here's what it means. They also provide you with specific concerns that you may have and how you can use the data to improve in that space. And the last pro, which is very similar to the pro that I just mentioned, there is always something new and innovative coming to the app. The app is constantly updating. I almost always have an update to the app, and when I go into the app, they're either shifting things around so that it makes the data more accessible and digestible, or they're adding truly new tools into the app. It's not an app that just is there and you've used it and you get comfortable with it and you know what to expect. There's always something new happening, and I personally think that that's a great pro, because a lot of people will argue that the $5.99 subscription for this ring and for the app is ridiculous on top of the price of the device. But if they're constantly improving, constantly adding new things, and constantly being innovative, they're putting a lot of worth to that subscription price, and I 110% believe that the subscription price is worth it, just for the fact that they're constantly improving it. I only touched the surface of all the things that you can actually go in and do in the OURA Ring app, so 100% worth it in my opinion. It's $5.99 a month, and you essentially have a doctor in your pocket, or not in your pocket, yes, but also on your hand. So I think it is worth the price for sure. Okay, moving on to the cons. I only have 2 cons, so we are nearing the end of this video. But the first con is the sizing of the ring and the applicable customer service when it comes to the sizing of the ring. For example, and I don't have this issue because I talked about the sizing with my ring and the fact that it's perfect, but I got an OURA ring for Ian, and I did the whole same situation with the sizing, getting a size that's a couple sizes up because, your finger swells and all of that. And the ring does not fit him properly. He has weird fingers. So his size, like I actually use a ring sizer, his size is 10. So I did the same math and I got him a size 12 in his ring. But it does not fit him. It is just way too big. And so I got it for him as a gift, and so I couldn't really return it, and I know that's technically my fault because I should have sized him. I should have gotten him the ring sizer. They tell you to do this, like they really are adamant about this, and so that was definitely my fault. But the fact of the matter is I got it for him as a surprise gift, so I didn't want to ruin the surprise. Anyway, that's not necessarily the point, even though my example is kind of like a screw up on my end. The point is, if you get a ring and it is not your size, it's too big or it's too small, and it could go for any example. Say you lose weight, say you gain weight, whatever the case is. It doesn't necessarily have to be my case where I messed up, but if the ring doesn't fit you, you cannot return it. like after you take it out of the package and you use it for some time, say you lose weight over time, say you gain weight over time, you cannot return it. You cannot get a replacement for a brand new size. There's no workaround for this. If you go into the OURA Ring customer service, the only thing that you can do is tell them the situation and they will offer you a $30 voucher to purchase a brand new device, which, given the fact that this device can be upwards of $350, $30 is not really anything at all. So unfortunately, like, you can't lose weight, you can't gain weight, or you can't do what I did and surprise someone with a ring and not know for sure if the whole sizing up 1 to 2 sizes is going to definitely work for that particular person's hand. So the sizing is just really, really annoying. You have to be like really diligent about it, and I think that's like a major con for a lot of people, especially because the device is expensive and you are paying a $5.99 subscription. I don't necessarily know what I'm going to do with Ian's ring because it does not fit him properly. We've tried so many things to get it to like fit at least a little bit snug, and OURA customer service also said that you can put it on a finger that's not just the index finger. I told him to put it on his thumb, but it's not comfortable on his thumb. All sorts of things. So just a heads up on the sizing. That whole experience is not pleasant. And then the second con is just something to be mindful of. I think it's quite obvious because if you're wearing something all the time, you should know this, but it can get damaged easily, especially depending on the metal that you go with. If you go with the matte kind of texture, it may show signs of damage more than, say, mine. Mine is not too damaged. There are very subtle scuffs. Like from far, you can't even see it, but if you look really close, you can see tiny scuffs. But Ian, he got the silver one, or I got him the silver one, and there are a lot of scuffs on it. So just know if you're wearing something 24/7, you are going to have to be a little bit careful or understand the fact that it is going to get a little scuffed. You can use a ring protector if you want to. Ian also uses a ring protector. Clearly he's having some situations with this ring, but you know, just be mindful of that. I know that's something that can be a major con for people because, again, you're spending a lot of money for something that gets damaged really easily and you can't necessarily put a case on it. You can. There are like silicone covers that you can put on it, but again, just a heads up. Okay, friends, so that was kind of lengthy, but hopefully it was quite as robust as I was hoping it was going to be, given that I've used the device for a really long time. If you have any questions about the things that I talked about, please let me know in the comment section. If you have any questions about anything I didn't talk about in today's video, again, leave them down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to try and dig and find information for you. I'm sure I also missed a couple of things. Let me know if you have the OURA Ring and if you have any favorite things about the OURA Ring, or if you have certain things that you don't like about the OURA Ring. I would love to know your experience with it, but overall, I personally think this is 100% worth the price. You can really save a lot of money here. You can really save hundreds of dollars in this overall purchase if you go with a slightly older model. The Gen 3 works incredibly well. Obviously, you don't necessarily need to get the Gen 4 one, and you don't need to get the gold one. You can get one that's silver. You can get one that has the little ridges on it, and you can save yourself a lot of money just getting something that's just slightly older. Because again, the app is constantly updating, and the app is the same for all the devices, and that's where a lot of the magic is happening. So I think it's personally totally fine to go with one that's a little bit older. You're still going to get an amazing experience. And the $5.99 subscription fee, I will say it once more, it is 110% worth it, given the amount of information, the amount of data, and the amount of helpful tools that they have in the app that's constantly updating and improving. So yes, I do think this is a worthwhile purchase. I've spoken to so many people who have had OURA rings for a long time, longer than me, and they think it's one of the best things that they've ever purchased. So take it from me, take it from other people that I've had conversations with. It is a really fantastic device. Can I compare it to any of the other smart rings that are out there? I cannot. I do not know anything about the other devices. So if you have questions about that, I am so sorry. I need to actually have the device, and I need to actually use the device to be able to give you my personal thoughts on it. If not, I'm sure you could just go on Google and compare the two of the devices that you're considering and see the specs and the differences there, but I'm not going to be able to give you insight into something that I've never used. But that is all for this video. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if it does inspire you to pick up an OURA ring. I would be so thrilled to know that. And I will also link the one that I particularly have in the description box if you want the same exact one as me. Like I said, I have nothing but good words or good things to say about this one. And I'm going to go really close and hopefully you can see it's really not damaged that much, if at all. Yeah, it looks great. But yeah, that is all. Thank you so much once again, and I will talk to you in the next video.